I've known Sadie for many, many years, and as I mentioned in the video for some of you who saw, she was really instrumental in encouraging many, many of us in the Aboriginal community, many Aboriginal women, young and old, to, it's not encourage isn't even the right word, like to have the courage to find our voices, but just gently and ever so slowly supported all of us to reconnect, I guess is the best word, with the voices that we have inside ourselves. So I do want to start off, Sadie, with talking about where music comes from for you and what role music plays within you, because you mentioned a bit about that in the video, but I think it's sort of the core of, I've always seen it as the core of where you come from. And so where do you feel that music comes from and in you, and how it connects you to community?
Well, I think, for me, the music is a gift from the Creator. And as for the Nashoni people, we're supposed to use our gifts for the people. So, and everybody has a different gift, or everybody might have a lot of gifts or a few gifts, but everybody has at least one. And so you're supposed to use that for the benefit of the people. So the music really, for me, it comes from the Creator. And I'm very lucky, and part of the gift of music is that my whole family really is they're music people. Like if you go to the archives in Ottawa or Smithsonian, and you hear Haudenosaunee singer, that's my relatives. So I'm in that line. So I'm really, really lucky. And in addition to having it being the gift, also to having all of that experience and all of that ability in my family and what their knowledge and passing it on. So I'm lucky in a whole lot of different ways in that, where music comes from and how it evolved for me. And when I had my son, I would have been happy, but I would have also been very surprised if he wasn't a singer. And he is a singer. So, he's kind of trapped in there too.
You mentioned in the article in the FMO catalog about the drum that your grandparents would leave out on the table for you to pick up and sing. It's not so the drum. Can you talk about the drum?
Well, we use my Haudenosaunee people, Iroquois people, we use a water drum, which is a very small wooden drum. Well, they were originally wooden, now they're like plumber's pipe and that kind of stuff, all the innovative materials. And they're a hollowed out log with a wet leather on top, and the water in there. There's water inside the drum, and how it works in the air is that the water in the drum works with the air in the water in the air. And then what it does is it magnifies your sound. So like as a lead singer and I'm singing with the drum and I'm holding it here, then my voice is coming and going across the top of this, which is emitting water. And then it works with the water in the air, which then helps in terms of your projection. Now that's the science now. A long time ago, I don't think that was the thought. Let's do this. But my old people, they could talk about that. That's where I learned that. That's what they said. This is how your voice works in the air. So that's the kind of drum that we use. And so over time, however, and we had different sizes for different ceremonies, but they're all water drum. And those old people used to talk about that, how the air works in a room, how it works with the drum, how your voice works, and the projection. And that's our science, and that's where I learned that when I sit and listen to those old people talk about our drum. In terms of where our drum, we use a water drum for almost every sound. We basically have 3 types of music. One is ceremonial, one is for curing or healing, and then the social dances. And the only ones that we perform in public are the social. So the Six Nations Women Singers, when we perform, we only sing social dance songs, women's dance songs primarily. And so that's basically what we do. So it's what we sing, when we hear, even what you heard on that tape, video, is very, very small part of our music. Very, very small part. And as the Six Nations Women Singers and as Sadie Buck, I've used that all my whole life to make a point, to bring it, to talk about music and to talk about life ideas and stuff like that. So when my dad and them were in performance, my dad, my grandfathers, my grandmothers, my mother, my aunts, my whole family on both sides really were performers. Like all my great grandparents were in the 101 Ranch, Wild Bill Cody performance groups. They traveled all over the world, Europe, everywhere. So again, I think I was part of that comfortableness on the stage without even realizing that that was going to occur. And the first time, and my mom told me this, I don't remember it, but my mom told me that the first time that I was ever on the stage was when she was pregnant with me, and she was performing, and there I was with her. And so that's the very first time. And so I've been on the stage ever since. And everything that I do, I teach university now, I've taught public school, everything. Everything, I do voice work, I teach body movement, all of those things. Everything is from a Haudenosaunee. Everything that I learned is from the music and the dance of Haudenosaunee people, everything. So, and that was one of the joys that when we did Aboriginal Women's Voices, was to sit with those 5 ladies, Flora Wallace, Cornelia Bawani, and Anita Ankew, I don't know, maybe some.
Olivia Tailfeathers.
Olivia Tailfeathers.
And I'll think of the other one in a moment.
I can't.
Yeah.
But the part for me to sit with them, and they probably have at least 15, 20 years on me. But for me, it was a complete joy to sit with somebody who really, really understood music and the whole idea of where it belongs and how it fits in life, to just sit with them and sing. And we did. We sang for 6 weeks, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And that's all we did was sing. And it was, for me, that was a benefit that I really, when Robert Rosen and Margie Bocage had this idea that they wanted to support some program, and then I invented Aboriginal Women's Voices in a hotel in downtown Toronto, here sitting at a restaurant, Robert Rosen said to me, if you could do anything you wanted to do, what would you do? So I just, right away, this is what I would do, and I started. I owned 3 programs for him. One of them was Aboriginal Women's Voices, which didn't have a name at the time. So I just laid it out. I said, this is what I would do, and I laid out 3 programs. And that's what I tell my students. I said, if anybody ever says to you, is there anything you can do anything you want, tell them. Tell them what you want to do. Say it, do it, because you don't get nowhere if you don't. So, I was really glad that those people had come together and had that idea. And so in terms of the drum, and all of those ladies that came there had their own drums. And it was nice to sit and to sing. Never mind the fact that all of their knowledge was going on to that next generation. That was going to happen anyways, and I'm glad we pushed it. But they could hear all those drums, they could hear all the songs, they could hear all the languages, they could hear all of those things, and we're, as a person, we're the culmination point of all of the people that came before you. So I was glad to just try and create that situation, had the opportunity to create that situation for all those young singers. So, the drum really, it carries its sound through a lot of people.
So I guess the Aboriginal women's voices, because I was a part of that experience. So you just have to imagine, like, at 6 weeks. So we have the FMO conference, which is like 3 to 4 days. You just have to imagine, like, that multiplied about 6 times in terms of time, without any alcohol or drugs. And really, like, singing, because we all know the experience of being at the FMO conference. We go away, we're inspired. You know, we are so full. We're full of the music that others have given to us and shared with us. We're inspired to write, we're inspired to create. We're influenced by the music that we hear, highly influenced by the music that is fantastic, or that have presented us with a new point of view. And Aboriginal Women's Voices was that times 12. And singing every single day, like from morning till night, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, was one of the most incredibly healing experiences that I have ever had in my entire life. And I left that, I really literally left that experience a completely transformed human being. And it was simply because of the practice and the discipline and the opportunity to sing into the space with other women that much, that often. So my question to you, Sadie, is because I know you also teach a Indigenous Health and Wellness course at Western University. So what is it about singing that is connected to our health and wellness?
Well, what a timely question.
We drink some water. Does that help?
No, we had, the last class, I teach on Wednesdays at University of Western Ontario. My class is from 1:30 to 4:30 on Wednesdays. But that's the session we just had this past Wednesday, was about music and what it brings to your personal health and well-being. And as Aboriginal people, we have a lot of little, they're not little, but like the residential school era and its bad issues, the 60s scoop, and it's all of those kinds of things, all of the things that pile up and create a bottleneck on our voices. And as for the Shoshone people, music and dance, there's only 3 forms of expression that we have, and that's music, dance, and speaking. Those are the only 3 that we have. And you're supposed to do all 3 of those to be healthy. Those are the 3 things. So you gotta dance, you gotta sing, you gotta talk. So for us, that's what we have to do. So we have to talk, we have to do those kinds of things. And so in terms of Indigenous health and well-being, and not just Indigenous people, anybody, that's what you have to do. Talk, sing, dance, move. And that's part of the reason why I teach voice and movement, because we gotta do it. We got a neck here, which really is a bottleneck as well for us. When we get everything, whatever it is, women and the abuse people go through, everything. We get all that piled up on us, and then we have this neck here, which gets all restricted, the bottleneck. And we gotta release it. So in terms of anybody's health and well-being, we got to let those things go, and we got to get them out of us. And so you can do anything. You can, as long as you're getting those sounds out of you, get that anger out of you, get that out of you, send it away. Then, if you want to go and sing at a tree in the middle of the bush, you go ahead and do that. Because that'll release that, help you to start to release that bottleneck. So that's, in terms of that alone, that's really, really good. But when you sing, and you can sing anything you want, but when you sing, and for me, you stay and you become aerobically fit. For me, when I travel, like if I'm traveling from here to Ottawa, that's a 6-hour song for me. Because I sing when I'm driving my car and make up songs when I'm driving my car. So those are like, for me, I don't even think, it's 6 hours, oh my God. How am I gonna drive that? But because next thing you know, I'm there and the song is over till I'm back in the car again. But you exercise your lungs. You exercise your lungs, you sing. And you don't have to sing sing lullabies, sing nursery rhymes, whatever. Just exercise your lungs, hold notes, because that exercises your lungs. And then once you're exercising your lungs, no matter what you do, you're better off. No matter what you do, you're better off, because that air is getting in and out of you. So anything. So people don't realize how much making noise is going to help you just on your daily life. Just anything. It really, really helps you a lot, and you don't realize it. And so we need to do it more. So for me, like even this week when I was running around like a chicken without a head trying to get to everybody's music event, and I didn't make it to all of them. I had to go and listen to people's sound checks so I could hear some of the people. And then I'd hobble off to the next one. So it was really nice for me to be here and hear the singing all the time, because I think that's the way it should be all the time, in everybody's house, in everybody's kitchen, in everybody's backyard. And for me, I'm very lucky because that's what it's like at my house. Because I'm a lead singer, I can sing anytime, anywhere, for anything, whatever. And my son is the same way. My neighbor told me one day, she goes, "Oh, I can always tell when the buses are going through, because your son gets off the bus and he steps off the bus," she said, "and I can hear him start singing right away." So he's walking across to my house and my neighbor can hear him singing. She goes, "Oh, it's 3:15. And he was here today. He took off. He thinks he's shy.
But proud. He's proud of you. He's proud of you. I could see it on his face. Hearts of the Nations was an incredible album, and unfortunately it's not available anymore. So Hearts of the Nations was a recording that was a culmination of the Aboriginal Women's Voices Project, and it was such an incredible experience. So as Sadie was saying earlier, we all offered songs, we all brought songs, and then we all shared each other's songs. We learned each other's songs and then recorded them all. And the album garnered a Juno Award in the Aboriginal category. What do you think is the possibility of bringing that? Who has the masters for that? Do you know? Is that Banff?
Yes, it's at the Banff Center for the Arts. I really don't know. I would love, and I don't know how many years ago that was. 12?
Yeah. Yes, 12. Yeah.
But yes, I think it's when we were doing it, I never, I just thought we want to do this CD and show what we had done and all of that stuff. But now I see it as a very, very timely piece in terms of what it offers in terms of ideas and inspiration for other people. I didn't think of it at that time. I just thought, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show, and we're going to move on to that. I'm going to move on to the next thing, whatever that happened to be. But it was good because for me, I thought, well, that'll help all the women that are on there. It'll help women's voices. It'll help all of these things at that time. But it didn't occur to me the long-term ideology behind it. But that's really, I still today, people will say, well, I've got your CD, Hearts of the Nations, can I get a copy of it? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't know. I have to investigate that because I've had a lot of requests for it, and I don't know how to go about, reproducing it.
I'll help you with that. We're going to get on that. That's my public pledge to you today. There's my next project. Okay. I was going to take a rest, but never mind. Because we can just do it, or we cannot, right?
Yes.
I was inspired by you saying that this morning, and my mother was very similar. My mother was a single parent, and she was like, well, let's just do it. So we did these incredible things growing up, and that's the one thing that I'm really, really thankful for in terms of my mother passing that on to me. It's like, well, you could wait, or you could just get it done, right? But Hearts of the Nations, I have the same thing. It was such an incredible album, and I think
I like to believe that, I like how you were talking earlier about the science of the drum, and then there's the drum, right? So for me, if there were the science of the CD, I think really the spiritual transformation that we all went through the experience of just singing with you day in and day out was so profound that, and then coming together and supporting each other in the recording, that's what's on the recording. And that's why the recording is so fantastic. The recording has our personal transformations embedded in the music somehow. And it's it is really an incredible CD, and it is unfortunate that, so anyway, we're gonna work on that. Maybe next year. Yeah, okay. If there's another thing, we can go to the Ontario Arts Council for it.
Where is that?
My friend.
No, that's another grant I have to write. The pro and con to the music, being a musician, right? The grant, the love and hate relationship with the granting system. Anyway, we'll chat about that because it really, I'm hoping to be able to share it with more people because it really is it was an incredible experience. And one of the most profound pieces on that CD for me was a song that a woman by the name of Morano came offered to the group. And I'm digressing, but anyway, I'm going down this road. So Sunny brought this song that was a very collaborative piece in our recording, and what the song was based on was, there was a time, as Sadie had mentioned, that there was not such great things happening for us as Aboriginal people in this country, in the United States, on Turtle Island. And one of them certainly was that bottleneck, as Sadie was talking about, around the neck, around the throat, around the voice, where we were not actually allowed to sing our songs, and we were not allowed to dance our dances. And that feeling, sort of that being ripped out of, well, it rips out your soul, right? Because that is connected to the soul. But Sunny brought this really amazing song where the she's a part Apache, and she, the grandmothers, what they would do is they would hold the babies and they would whisper the songs into the ears of the babies. So that it was a way of passing on the songs and the traditions and the stories in a way that we could get around the law, I guess. And it was such a profound experience for me to be able to not only realize that cultural knowledge has been passed on by the grandmothers that found a way to do it, whether it be whispering or whatever way. And this beautiful, incredible piece of music that Sunny had created, where we were all whispering parts of our languages and embedded in this beautiful melody that Sunny had created, which was, and I hope to be able to share that with you. And then the other really awesome thing was just to be able to sing with Sadie, because this woman has the most incredible voice. And at one point I remember I can't even remember where we were, but really, like, Sadie doesn't need a mic in this room, we were I can't remember where we were out someplace, and she was about to sing, and they handed her a mic, and she said, "No, I don't need that." And really, literally, like, where Sadie's voice comes from, there just is no need. It does really connect with the earth, for sure, and mic is not necessary. Okay, so the experiences of traveling with the Iroquois women singers and working with Robbie. Can you talk a little bit about that? A little bit more about that?
The Six Nations Women Singers, well, we started out as a Six Nations young girls singing group. I think we might go back to that title. We started out as young, like our parents were in the singing society tradition, so we just started out singing, and we were the first young kids group to sing at a Sing. We have an event called a Sing, and at the time when I was little, we held them 4 times a year. And they were basically our holidays. Like, we don't have Christmas, we don't have Easter, we don't have civic holiday or any of those things. We don't have holidays, so we created holidays and they were to sing. So we used to have them 4 times a year. And now we only have them twice a year, but we used to have them 4 times. And so we were one of the first, we were the first kids group to sing. And we sang, we had no idea. Like, we always went to all the singing practices for the adults, and it was all men singers at the time. Even though women could sing, it was mostly the men. And the Allegheny women from the Allegheny Reservation in New York State, they were phenomenal singers. And they were the first women's group to sing, but we were the first kids group. And so we started singing, and it was really kind of funny because they kind of don't really teach you. I mean, they teach you, but they don't really teach you anything, you know, like, so you gotta be really tuned in. You gotta really, really pay attention. Like the reason I became a lead singer, the reason I became a lead singer is because when we sing, we have a cow horn rattle, and you hit, for us, our beats are real sharp. They have to be real sharp because it's to dance to. So you gotta have a real sharp beat so the dancing stays on beat and everything. So you have to hit that rattle on your hand or your leg hard. And I was like maybe 7, 8 years old, and I'm like, my leg, my hand is killing me, oh my God. But you don't have to do that when you have the drum. So, you know, I thought, well, I'll do that. And so I started, and I just, you know, I was like the lousiest drummer in the whole world. I mean, and, you know, my dad's walking through the house, and he's listening to this. Obviously, at the time, was probably a horrific sound for him because my dad's beat was like mega right on. He doesn't need those things in the recording studios. Anyways, I can't imagine what the assault on his ears was as I was trying to learn. And mind you, this is all on one day, like, because I'm very good at beat too, and obviously that's where I got it from, was my grandparents and my father and all of those people. But I was singing away, trying to hit this drum and trying to sing all at the same time, put it all together, because the single job of a singer in Haudenosaunee music is to make people want to dance. And you got to put everything all together, everything, to do that. Otherwise, people are just going to sit there and look at you. So I was trying to do this, and my dad just walked through the living room, and all he did was he took my hand and he just turned it, like maybe 1/8 of an inch. That's all he did. And went on by. And I started hitting that drum. After that, I had it. Well, you know, I should have had it because he obviously took that millisecond to correct me, and that meant something, so I had to get it at that moment, because at that time, you did not. If they told you something or if they did something, there was nothing, you had to do it. So, you know, all he did was that, and then I had the drum. And then that was it. I just had to put everything else together, the voice and everything else, the beat, all of that stuff together. And so that's how I started being the lead singer, was because I was willing to do the drum, and very few people were. And for me, it was just because I didn't want to beat my hand up and beat my leg up all the time. I had no idea where that would take me. I had no idea that would propel me, and now I've been, you know, like all over the world and met lots and lots of people whose names I can't remember, and been in a lot of places, been in a lot of festivals, been in a lot of situations, met a lot of cultures, been danced with a lot of people, sang with a lot of people, and that's all where that started from, was that little turn of my hand, and that 1/8 inch turn of my hand by my dad. And I just really, that has really taken, and then I started really trying to understand. Then I really started trying to listen to them, because I accepted the responsibility of that drum. So then I had to. if I was going to accept this, then I had to take that all in. So I did. I've been doing that, and I learn every single day something new. And I try to teach as best I can. So I really work to be able to say things, to be able to talk, to be able to, and like I said about my son, I think he thinks he's shy, and I also think I'm shy. But because I have this gift, and I have a responsibility toward it, then that's why I get up and speak in front of people, even though I'm just that kind of thing. That's how I feel, but I can't do that. I don't have the willingness to and the ability to stop. I must keep going for my people and for whoever else sees that and says, oh, hey, I could do that. Then, no, all right then. And, you know, when I tell some of my voice and dance students that if you're, you know, maybe today you'll take this in, maybe you won't use it for 10 years, but 10 years down the road, boom. So that's good. Just keep doing it. No, I forgot the question.
I like what you say about responsibility of the gift too, right? Because we forget that. You know, we get so caught up in trying to move our careers forward. Then it becomes all about marketing materials and the importance of a great demo, and which are all important things for sure, absolutely, because that's sort of an industry standard that's been set that we've all agreed to. But sometimes when you get caught up in that, you do forget about responsibility of the gift, right? So I've got 3 thoughts in my head, so I'm trying to figure out which way to go. I grew up in southern British Columbia, and my mom loved Motown, so that's what we listened to, because that's what we had access to as well there. And what I loved about Motown performers, and I think it's connected to what you're saying, is that the responsibility of the entertainer to entertain, or the responsibility of the singer and the drummer to be so on the beat that you inspire the dancer to dance. It is the responsibility of the artist to engage and inspire our dancers, our audience, right? And I look at I'm very fortunate. My daughter's 17 and she has a very eclectic musical taste, which is really, really fantastic. But I listen to the music that her friends listen to, and it worries me because I don't feel that artists who are up and coming necessarily have that recognition of the gift and the responsibility of the gift. Where am I going with this? I think it's about how do you inspire the youth? What do you say to them when you're just like your dad turning? What's the quarter-inch turn for you?
Oh my God, I don't even know. At the Pan Am Games just recently here in Toronto, they had Women's Day there, and what had happened was our girls lacrosse team, we travel on with a Haudenosaunee passport. We don't travel on a Canadian or U.S. passport. You can get a Canadian or a U.S. passport, but the lacrosse team, they all travel on a Haudenosaunee passport. And they used to be accepted in the world until 9/11. And then after 9/11, then they stopped accepting them, because that's how I traveled as well. And, you know, I went and just showed them my Haudenosaunee passport. But those girls, they were supposed to play in a lacrosse tournament, the World Championships in Scotland. And the United Kingdom wouldn't accept their passports. And so the girls weren't, you know, they practiced, they did practice, raised all those, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to travel, and they were denied. They couldn't go to play in the tournament. So at the Pan Am Games, they had Women's Day, and what they did was they honored those young girls. And so they asked me if I would come up there and I would sing them a song and I would speak to them. And when I get up to speak, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't know, but somehow I said the right thing, because the girls were, well, they were all crying and organized, so I guess I hit some nerve. So you know, and they were very happy, and they were very, didn't feel as bad, you know, that they couldn't go. So I really honestly don't know. You know, I just said to them that sometimes you have to accept what happens in this case, them not being able to travel, them being disallowed by the very virtue of a passport, which is a political issue. You know, the United Kingdom just didn't want to accept the Haudenosaunee passport versus Canadian or US. They would gladly have accepted a US or Canadian passport, but they wouldn't accept Haudenosaunee. And so it's just a political thing happening in the world, you know, and as Haudenosaunee people, or as Aboriginal people, we like to think that, you know, everything we do is really, really political. No matter what we do, no matter, you know, everything we do is, politics, I seen a sweatshirt one time and said, politics is really our spirituality. And in this world, yes, it is. A long time ago, I don't think that we you know, that was part of it. We just sang, or we just played the cross, or whatever. There was no issues. But nowadays, it's not like that. And so we have to fight, and we have to stand up for things. And that's basically what I told the girls, is sometimes we have to stand up. And we have to stand up, and no matter what happens, whether they accept what you're standing for is either yay or nay for them. But still, that doesn't mean that you don't have to stand up. So you still have to stand up. And so what you did was you still stood up. And that's the good thing right there. That's the action. That's the thing that was supposed to happen, and you did it. Whether you feel good about it or bad about it, you still did it. So in that one instance, you can be proud of what you did. And it was vital for our people, so you did it. Whether you want to think that it's a good thing or not, you still did it, because you did it for all of us. And so in a way, that was their ability to play lacrosse, which is a gift. But beyond that, they took it to the people. So they took this gift and they said, okay, we won't go play in this tournament because we're not allowed to, because of a simple thing as a passport. But they stood up for it. So and then I sang a song. So those girls really, really appreciated that. Even though for me, I was like, oh, I hope I said the right thing. I really didn't know if I did or not. But I always like, when I sat with those older ladies, and that was my thing about Aboriginal voices, or sitting with my dad or my grandparents, that generation, and hearing them talk and hearing them, well, not hearing them talk. Because they would sit and they would not talk. They just sit. But the presence in that circle was phenomenal. The feeling, the strength. And they didn't talk. Like even my dad just turning my hand, that little tiny little weeny bit. The phenomenal change that made. And that's what I think. That's what I think is, you know, like I just keep doing what I'm doing. I guess, if I have to say it, I guess I just keep what I'm doing what I'm doing, and saying what I'm saying. And if that inspires, because the inspiration is on your end, because I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to say what I think and keep doing what I'm doing. And if you get inspired from that, great. That's good, and more power to you, from me.
I liked what you say too about your dad and your grandparents, and how they're silent, and yet the energy in the room. And then you mentioned the word listening. So I think, you know, for me, it's, I guess, also as much about understanding the power of listening to the earth and listening to each other. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, so I'm sorry, but, and I know that you don't have your drum or your rattle, but can you sing for us? Sure.
This song that I'll sing, it's from the Aboriginal dance opera Bones. And when we were sitting here a while ago, even in the AGM yesterday, I came to the AGM too, and I sat here. And I was, this morning too, I was sitting over here. And mind you, help that there was food. All was good. But I was very happy, I was very pleased, I was very enjoying the moments, and I really enjoyed the conference and the moments. Like, I mean, sometimes I just had to go listen to people's sound checks, but that was okay. Because I've heard some nice sound checks, bits and pieces of songs, so that was nice. But one thing that I was very happy to see in this organization and in the strategic plan, I seen that in there, and I think that it's good that there is diversity. Because when diversity comes, then you have also all the new sounds. You have all that thing that comes into your head and goes and wraps around in your brain and swings around. And then you have fusion, because it gets in there, and then the next thing that comes out of you contains all of those things, whether we realize it or not. So we get that fusion in our brain. And so this song from Aboriginal dance opera Bones talks about that. It says basically it's in that language of the world, which is the language that I wrote for Bones. And as you've seen in that thing, I don't know where I got that idea from. How I ever thought I could write it.
We're listening to somebody.
Somewhere. Something said, do this. So, this song says, always remember, be of one mind. You listen, always remember, be of one mind. And I think in terms of music, that's really what music is one mind. All over the world. And whatever world is up there, it's all, music is the one mind, and the one mind that we need. Hey, yeah.
much, Sadie. It's always incredible listening to Sadie sing. I've had the pleasure of hearing you sing a lot, and always it just comes from that place, right? I think everybody would agree. I just wanted to open it up to anybody. Does anybody have any questions for Sadie that they would like to ask? Kevin?
Hi, Sadie, I was in the session on Friday morning when Magoo asked you a question about your language of verbs rather than nouns. And I'm sorry, I missed the beginning, so maybe you talked about this. But you talked about not being a singer, but someone who sings. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that. I just found it such an inspiring idea to not get stuck in what people say you are, but rather in doing. So could you talk a little bit about that language?
Yeah, excuse me, Iroquois language, Haudenosaunee languages are, I'm Seneca. So my first language would be Seneca, it's not English. So all of my thoughts and everything come from that ideology of speaking the thoughts of my language. And in my languages, Seneca, I'm not a composer. I write songs all the time, but in my language, they wouldn't call me a composer. That's an English word, and it fits, it's the right word, composer. But in my language, they would say, she makes up songs. Because Haudenosaunee languages are verb-oriented languages. They're not noun-oriented. We do have nouns. But even, for instance, the word dog, the literal translation is dog. But what dog, when you say sowas, what that means is that when a dog bites something really hard, when a dog bites something, the fur under its chin shakes. And that's what sowas is. That's what sowas means. It doesn't mean dog. So if another animal did that, technically we could call that sowas too. But that's the action of that word, of that thing. So even in that song, that concept of one mind is borrowed from Haudenosaunee for that song, Biamawak. And because we talk about being of one mind a lot, quite a bit. And that, even though it's two words, one and mind, the whole process involved in being that is phenomenal. So there's this great big story behind that one phrase in our languages, one mind. And so I borrowed that for that song, song I just sang. But that's because they're verb-oriented. I have all of these things on my resume: author, composer, writer, songwriter, all of these things. But at home, they just say, oh, she writes songs. So for me, like when I come into a space like this and I have to talk about being a composer, I have to talk about being a songwriter, and yet at home I can hear them, oh, she writes songs, which is exactly what I do. So it's all about the action versus the thing. So it's a really different concept for me. I had to argue with myself all the time when I would have to go and speak somewhere and talk about composing or talking about being a playwright or talking about being an author or any of these things. I'm like, well, now what do I say? Because I don't know what that means. But at the same time, I do know what it means because I do write songs and I am a composer in English. At home, I write songs. And the other thing that about it is, I don't say that about myself. I don't say that I write songs. I can say I can write songs at home when I'm talking in our languages. I can say that, but it's the people that say what you are. So they say she can write songs. I can say, yeah, I can write songs, but when they're talking amongst themselves, they'll say, well, she can write a song. Get her to do it, because she can write a song. She can write that, she can do that, she can write this, she can do this, she can do that. And then and I think that's part of how I ended up being here, for one thing, because they say that, so therefore I'm obligated to do it. So it all goes around. And so because it's action oriented, then, they'll say she can do it, so then I have to put that action into place. So that's, I don't know if that's, I'm still trying to figure out if that's, because it's not really motivation, it's more obligation and more responsibility than just motivation. Like my dad turning my hand like that, for me to say, oh, okay, I have to do this now because I accepted it, then, I can't even classify that as motivation, but it's highly motivating because I did that. I accepted that responsibility. So I guess accepting the responsibility is the motivation. I mean, I have to think about all of these things because I have to talk about these concepts in English, and it's very difficult because there are words in our languages that we don't even have a translation for. Sometimes you have to talk for 2 hours to get one word translated, one phrase translated. So the process is very long. And I think that's probably where, because I call myself a facilitator more than anything. Like, I work with all of these people, I work with the medicine people at home, but I'm more of a facilitator for them. Like, there's a gray area between my culture and English, and I work in this area. I try to mediate that area and try to really help in that way. So it's all about action, it's all about doing in my culture. And people tell you what you're doing. So I just try to do it.
Which makes for an interesting thing. That intersection of worldviews is somewhat confusing sometimes, and I think for culturally diverse performers or performers who think outside the box, because the industry's expectations are this, and yet our way of being is this, and it is that, as Sadie was saying, trying to find that gray area in between. Just going back to the English language too, I worked with an elder for a while named Sam Zamak, and he used to call it English the lying language. Because it's really easy to lie in English, because it's not a descriptive language. As Sadie was saying, our languages are verb-based, they're action-based, they're descriptive-based. So as Sadie was saying, when I'm talking about something, I'm describing what it is that I'm seeing, whereas in English, you just say chair. So you can, in English, there's the ability to they call it the lying, some of the elders call it the lying language, because it's easier to lie in language, because you're not describing what it is that you're seeing or feeling. You just have a word that you've attuned to something, which makes it really interesting and challenging, I think, to write really great songs in English, to craft songs in English that can reach that truth and emotional value, whereas in other languages I think it's much easier in a lot of ways. Anybody else have a question for Sadie before we begin to wrap up this morning? Okay, all right. So two things. If you have any sort of final words, Sadie, it'd be awesome just to sort of throw it your way, and then I'm wondering if we can maybe try to figure out what we can sing together. Real quick, this is all, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, but I'm like, I'll follow you. But anything that you'd like to just end off with us for today?
Yeah, I want to thank Janny for nominating me, and James. I don't know where James is. He was here a while ago. I don't know where he is now. And I haven't run into him. I was trying to run into him, in my scattered chicken without a head, trying to go all over and see and hear everything. So thank them very much for nominating me for the Estelle Klein Award. I really, really appreciate it. And to thank the FMO for the hotel room. It was so relaxing for me. I was just really like, oh my God, look at this space. And I don't have to clean it. Or do dishes. I was like, oh, hey, this is really nice. So I really appreciate all those things. It was nice to be able to come and like the nice to hear all of the music. I just really, really, I love music. I I constantly hear beat. Constantly hear beat. I hear it in everything. And so for me, it's always whatever. I hear it in waterfalls. I hear it in people's rhythm when they speak. I hear it all the time. And so there was a bit of an overload for me on Friday. I was running around and trying to get everywhere, and I was like, ugh. I had to go take a break in my nice quiet room. So it was nice. I really, really appreciated this weekend. I really enjoyed the conference, and listening to everybody talk and hearing all the music and hearing the laughing. I really enjoyed that part. Even though I was in one session and you couldn't hear the session I was in because you could hear them next door. So that was nice. You could, even though it was a laughing that blocked out the sound, it was still a very, very nice and a pleasant sound. Mm-hmm. So this song is also from the Aboriginal dance opera Bones. And it's our theme song, and I know Janny knows it. But I'm going to invite you to sing with it. Sing with it. It's very simple. It's very easy. And so I would like for all of you to share in this day, in this event, even though I know you've been sharing like crazy. But it's going to come from you and from your own self. So it's the Aboriginal dance opera Bones' theme song. It's called Oma Bema. And it's really only 3 lines. Oma Bema, Ne Ema Se, Oma Seispa. And basically we sing those 3 lines 4 times through. It goes Oma Bema, Oma Bema, Oma Bema, Ne Ema Se, Ne Ema Se, Ne Ema Se, Oma Seispa, Oma Seispa, Oma Seispa, then Oma Bema, Ne Ema Se, Oma Seispa. 4 times, 4 things through. It's really simple. And it's the theme song. Oh!